Be sure to buy your copy of Before the Badge, everything you need to know before you become a cop. Available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and wordsmatterpublishing.com. All right, what I'd like to do in this live is establish a discussion over the George Floyd and Derek Chauvin case, if you will. And this is a hill that if you've heard me talk about several times, I'm extremely passionate about it. I want to open it up for anybody who has any kind of challenge or question or whatnot on this case. And I want to make this specifically about George Floyd and Derek Chauvin, because in my opinion, I'll give my background for those who don't know: retired police officer, use of force instructor, defensive tactics expert, somebody who's extremely opinionated on the fact that Derek Chauvin, and this is my definitive statement, anybody is welcome to join on this, what Derek Chauvin did, and I'm going to talk about this in this video, what Derek Chauvin did is worse than murder from a police standpoint, and that's something I want to get across. So many of you you're blinded by the comments that are coming in. He didn't kill him. I'm going to establish this. I'm going to make this statement. Derek Chauvin did not kill George Floyd. However, caveat, semicolon, what Derek Chauvin did was worse than murder. And if nobody's going to wind up challenging just yet, I'll look at your comments in a bit. I'm going to explain why. And I'm hoping that this will give you some peace of mind in the defensive tactics world of law enforcement, and how you guys are so upset. You're so pissed off. How did you go? Think about this for a second. All I'm asking you is to keep an open mind in this. When this first happened years ago, the entire nation was on George Floyd's side. A year later, when the investigation or the court trial began and you had the fentanyl in his bloodstream, the very same people, all of your major social media influencers who condemned Derek Chauvin, now condemned George Floyd. And I see you guys in comments. Guys, listen to me carefully. Shut the fuck up about the fentanyl. I'm going to say this again. Derek Chauvin did not kill George Floyd, but you're proving that maybe your substandard low IQ can't comprehend this and why your police are so fucking dangerous. Let me explain how you morons who can't get it through your head that what Chauvin did was torture George Floyd, you are giving permission for your cops on the streets to be terrorists. Can we start there? We have to start there. Here's my point. Is the job of the police is to keep the peace and maintain order in a free society. To keep the peace and maintain order in a free society. I'm going to say it one more time. The job, the function of the police officer, the American street cop, is to keep the peace and maintain order in a free society. Their job is not to punish. Their job is not to decide verdict of guilt or innocence. Their job is to uphold the law on the street by use of force, presence, investigation, whatnot. Their job is not to punish. We can limit it on there, right? So you guys understand that? I'm going to give you use of force concepts. And this is something I want you to think of. We have two use of forces, if you will, right? One that is necessary to effect an arrest, and the other that is designed to terminate life-threatening behavior. Deadly force, and we'll start with that one. That is force that is necessary to terminate life-threatening behavior. I'm going to say this again. Terminate force, or use force that terminates life-threatening behavior. I'm going to say it one more time because apparently some people can't understand this one at all. Terminate life-threatening behavior. The key word being behavior. And I've argued with this with conservative radio show hosts who talk about cops showing up on scene and shooting somebody to kill someone. The job of the police when they use deadly force is not to shoot and kill somebody. It is to terminate life-threatening behavior. So what does that fucking mean? That means that if I show up on scene and John shit fucking Ragman is he's got a flamethrower in his hands, and I'm going to paint two scenarios for you. He's got a flamethrower in his hands, and he is torching the shit out of a daycare center with 50 toddlers in there. And I walk up and I get the call or whatever. I get out of my squad car and I can smell the little bodies cooking and all this shit. And he's got his finger on the trigger of that flamethrower. I don't have to say anything. Do not have to announce my presence. Don't have to say fucking halt, police, all this shit. I can walk right up, put my gun to his temple, and unload as many rounds possible to terminate the life-threatening behavior. Okay, that's one. Two, if I show up, same scenario, same guy, John Shit, or we used to call him Joe Shit, the rag man, is lighting up a daycare center, and he is in progress. It's torching, right? Barbecue little babies are going all over the place. I show up, I pull my pistol out, and I say, police, stop. I've got it drawn down on him, and he puts his hands up in the air and drops the fucking canister or whatnot. The behavior was terminated. And I know so many of you have a hard fucking time understanding this. This is why you need to pay more attention to the authority you give your police officer, right? I'm going to say this one. Here's another deadly force aspect. When I get the call, 9511, subject is torching a daycare center, and I pull up and I get out of my car. If when I get out of my car, prior to me drawing my pistol, he puts his hands up in the air. Now, I pull up on scene. I saw him lighting the shit out of that daycare center, and he's got his hands up in the air, and he drops it. I can't pull my gun and shoot him. I can't. I can pull my gun, hold it on him, and if he goes for it, then I can light that motherfucker up, because the behavior he did before that was indicative of something he could do again, especially if you have prior knowledge of a subject. You guys see where I'm going in all of this? I'll get to the training manual in a second. I'm going to get to that in a second. So when it comes down to use of force, when it comes to deadly force, that is designed to terminate life-threatening behavior. And I know so many of you liberals like to pull out the shoot him in the leg shit. Number one, you're talking about a very small object, trying to hit a very small object that is moving under high stress circumstances. And yes, if shooting somebody in the fucking leg did the job and terminated the life-threatening behavior, guess what? Deadly force was necessary. Deadly force does not equal killing someone. It's terminating life-threatening behavior. Do we have that? Let's move on. Now, I know. I like your fentanyl killed him. Fentanyl did kill him. Feel good. Go masturbate off in the corner now somewhere because you said fentanyl killed him. It did kill him. But this is why you're not paying attention, because you're the typical ignorant person who can't see past the fucking point of why what Chauvin did was worse than killing George Floyd. I'm going to get to that. Use of force is force necessary to effect an arrest, right? Non-deadly force. So it goes all the way in the use of force continuum from showing up in uniform. I don't even have to announce something. If I show up and I'm in uniform, that's a level of use of force. And then it goes all the way to the deadly force. The subject is the one who dictates the use of force. The subject is the one who dictates the use of force. I'm going to say this again. The subject is the one who dictates the use of force. If I show up, many of you guys have seen the Illinois cop who several years ago decided to teach that kid a lesson. 18-year-old guy mouthed off to him. So he said, "You want these hands?" And instead of arresting him, he beat the shit out of him and then said, "No, we're not arresting him." And people out there like a Mary King praised him and said, "We need more cops like this." That is what's going to be the destructive of law enforcement, because those cops who are praised for that behavior will do it to you and your family in the long run. But you guys don't want that. You guys have to get to terms with the fact that you're still not expressing the real reason why you're siding with Derek Chauvin, which is you're happy that a criminal black man who you never met, who held a gun to a pregnant woman's stomach that you didn't know about until the media told you, is no longer on this earth. You just want justice, and you got justice. We'll talk about that emotion in a little bit. Anything from use of force, from a strike to a stunning technique to a wrist control. Personally, I think the biggest technique in the use of force continuum that should be permissible to this day is the rear naked choke. 100%. The rear naked choke, cutting off the blood flow on the sides of the carotid arteries, is the single safest movement in all the defensive tactics. Put that fucker to sleep. And I know that Eric Gardner, that case ruined it all for us again too, because again, they said that the cop on scene, I think it was Politano or whatever his name is, he killed Eric Gardner, which he didn't, but you know, Dr. Michael Baden, he's famous, all this shit. So use of force is dictated on the subject. I'm going to get to this, ready? Use of force is dictated by the subject. Once again, use of force is dictated by the subject. This is what I want you to hear me very clearly on. If use of force is in the moment, it's in the moment, and it's dictated by the subject, it's just a question to ask first. Why did Derek Chauvin kneel anywhere? Not on the neck, not on the shoulder blades, knelt on his back. I don't care where he knelt. Why did he specifically stay in that position for 9 minutes? If use of force is dictated by the instant, what's going on in that moment, and what the subject does. It's dictated by the subject. Do you personally believe that Derek Chauvin was being dictated to by George Floyd? Oh, I need to kneel on him for 9 minutes. Do you think that? I want to see some comments. Want to see some comments who say, yes, I believe that he should have knelt for 9 minutes. Remember, use of force is in that moment. Never mind the fact that George Floyd kicked the door in the damn... I didn't see that in the body camera, Mike. I watched that body camera footage. He had incarceritis. And even if that's a property crime, government charge him for criminal damage to government state-supported property. It's still not use of force for that instance. Once he's in handcuffs, this is where I will argue with anybody about it till I'm fucking dead. Once he's in handcuffs, there's two caveats to this, the fight is off. But a lot of people say, no, that's not the case, because he could kick, he could bite, he could, he could spit, all this shit, and, yes, you feel that he should have knelt down and lost the energy to fight. That's a punishment. That's punishment. It's not his job to punishment. The fight was off. There was no fucking fight. Now you are saying that the police have the right to punish someone until they break their will. That's not the job of the police. Sorry as it is, I'm never going to agree with you on that one. He was in cuffs. He was in custody. He was on the ground. You had enough. The reason why the visual was torture, that I have a problem with this, and what he did was, we have a day and age where everybody screams and cries racism against black people by the police. And George Floyd was in cuffs, was in custody. It doesn't matter. And this is what a lot of you who are non-cops, this is not from Mike, this is for everybody else, and not for the citizens who believe, well, he held a pregnant woman by gunpoint at her stomach. Doesn't fucking matter. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if he did it 10 minutes prior. There was no gun on the scene. That's not what they were called there for. They had no prior knowledge of it. You had hindsight 2020. You had two cops on his hips and on his legs. Okay. Do you think in a day and age where you are backing the blue like crazy, do you think that it was really the wisest decision for a white police officer to kneel on a subject who is black in the relative proximity of his neck area for 9 minutes, even for the sake of perception? What Derek Chauvin did was say, fuck you, I'm the police. And Derek Chauvin's done it before. I've got a still from another body camera footage out there that shows Derek Chauvin doing that position before. No, what Derek Chauvin did was nothing more than, I am the fucking police and I get to do whatever the fuck I want, 100%. Even if, and I'll go back to Mike Brown's comment, he should have sat there and stayed on him till he lost the will to fight. Get up. Everybody get up. He'll be thrashing on the ground in handcuffs along the side of a police cruiser. What's the fucking threat? Everybody stands up. He's on the ground. He gets back up, put him back on the ground. I do not agree with punishing him whatsoever. So these are my points on this. While I will deal with this, this STIPLKS, murder was the correct charge. I don't know if you've got fucking Q-tips at home to clean out the ears or the shit between your ears, but I'm not talking about murder. I don't agree with the charge of what Derek Chauvin did, what he was charged with. If anything, what I will say is that it's a possibility that in the process of trying to calm him down, and anybody who's been in a pig pile like that before, your heart rate amps up because you could be claustrophobic, you could be just panicking like crazy with 3 grown fucking men on you, your heart is going to speed up. Maybe Derek Chauvin and those other cops contributed to the increased rate of fentanyl being pumped through his system. I would make that argument. Point I have with this is, all of you out there, Mike, I did see the full video from the initiating body camera officer on there. That's the one I watched, the one who made the initial contact, who sparked the whole incident by going guns out. He drew down on him in the car for an investigation that wasn't even complete yet on what the clerk said was a fake $20 bill. They didn't look at the $20 bill. They didn't examine the $20 bill. They didn't get any witnesses' information. They went right to the door of George Floyd, drew down on him, get the fuck out of the car, shut the fuck up, all this. That cop escalated it. If anything, it was horrible police tactics from second one. The problem I have outside of that is, cuffs are on, fight is off. Cuffs are on, fight is off. What about when he was in handcuffs, he's trying to get back in the car? Incarceritis. That's a moot point. That's a moot point. It doesn't matter. If you're getting, how many times have we ever had to put somebody who is in a position of what do you call it? They don't want to go to jail and they think they're going to go to the hospital? We get that. I'm specifically talking, let me put it this way. Here's the taser. Does everybody know that the tasers out there? We have the X26 tasers. And Mike, I'll ask you this one. The taser is on the same use of force level as an impact weapon or a baton. When tasers first came out, cops were using them like fucking they were pepper spray, or even pepper spray. Either one of these two things, I will ask you this, and I want an honest answer. The pepper spray is on a lower use of force scale than the taser, so I'll start with the taser. The taser, the X26 model, has a 5-second burst of when you pull the trigger and release it. It goes for 5 seconds. Then, if that person did not comply and they're still combative, you do it again. It has 99 cycles to it. So whatever 99 times 5 is, if you held your finger on the trigger of that, so let's say it's just under 500 seconds, so whatever 500 seconds is, if you held your finger on the trigger repeatedly on the taser, it would cycle for about 500 seconds. So there's 60 seconds in a minute. So what is that? 2 minutes is 120 seconds. Let's say 4 seconds. It could be about 5 minutes. About 5 minutes. Do you think that in custody handcuffs, that if the department policy says the taser can be used as an impact weapon circumstance, does the department policy say you can keep your finger on the trigger for the full 5-minute cycle while that person is in custody? And I'll put the same thing on pepper spray. It is 100%. 100% lawful if George Floyd is in handcuffs to blast him with pepper spray if he's not complying. It's permissible, 100%. If George Floyd is kicking, if he's biting, if he's doing anything, he can 100% be blasted in the face. Question is, for how long? Can you empty your entire OC can in George Floyd's face, shake it up, and hold it for 30 seconds or a minute and empty the entire thing on his face? Yes, every department has a different use of force continuum, but they avoid liability. Because when there's stupid cops making stupid decisions like this, that's where the department goes, that's not what we taught. It's all chiefs covering his own ass, the chief and the command staff. So if you would say, no, I would never wind up emptying an entire can of OC on George Floyd's face if he was in cuffs, then why would you kneel on his body? I don't care, on his neck, on his shoulders. If you knew we're in a day and age where the entire black community says, fuck the police, they're out here shooting and killing black men, why would a white cop be so fucking stupid to put himself in a position of visual punishment to where he's kneeling like the fucking Captain Morgan man on his booty. It's a white man kneeling on a black man in front of a whole fucking crowd to see. Does that not tell you Derek Chauvin's state of mind? And if you wound up looking at George Floyd's persona, no, I don't. I've dealt with the incarceritis, and I'll say this: it is racist. It is race, 100% race. It is race because it's public perception, 100% public perception. The public thinks that cops kill blacks left and right. End of story. And it is cultural too. For the most part, it was always the black community that you put them in cuffs and they got incarceritis. I don't want to go to jail. Officer, no, please, I'm dying. All the fucking time. So it's cultural. It is racial on every end. 100%, absolutely perceptions are learned. It means that the fucking public 100% believes that they don't believe our cops are out there for their best interest when it comes to the black community. I will wind up having people, I want to hear what you have to say. That's my ultimate viewpoint. What Derek Chauvin did was worse because he punished Floyd in a tactic that was permissible for an extended length of time. An abused length of time. The job of the police is not to punish. The job of the police is to keep the peace and maintain order in a free society. End of story. Sure, Derek Chauvin fucked that up. I hit accept twice. Guys, this is. If you want your police doing this, I don't know why you would support this. I don't know why you would support your police unless you were emotionally pissed off at this date and state of how the media just exacerbates white criminals versus black criminals, and subconsciously in your mind, you want a black subject to pay for this. You're tired of the fucking knockout game. You're tired of the mob looting. You're tired of this. To be honest, I wish more people. I'm not running for office, Mike. Fuck that. I will never do that again. It is racial. It was a fucking 100% public perception racial issue. I can't condone any police officer who does not have the concept of fucking punishment versus a job in play. I don't know why my cigar. I've said that, guys. I'm going to die on this hill a million times, but I can't stand by Chauvin whatsoever. What he did and what the public supports as well when it comes down to, well, Floyd did this, well, Floyd did that, doesn't fucking matter. You entrusted your police to swear a job, to do a job for the public safety, and they didn't. I keep trying to give you permission to join, but there you go. He should be in trouble again. STRI strip LKS. Nobody said murder. I get it. You got it. You got a hard on for this murder thing. No, I agree with you. He shouldn't have been charged with murder, but he sure as shit should have been charged with violating his constitutional rights. That's, guys, like I said, I will open this up. Again, if you're not following, if you look at the guy that I'm speaking to in the comment section, yes, Mike said it. Mike is one of the few men in the world that I actually will listen to when it comes down to commonalities in law enforcement. And he's the only fucking guy I will ever listen to when it comes down to firearms training as well, too. Do not think that my disagreement with Mike Brown gives him any less credit whatsoever. The man is a fucking genius. He is a pillar of ideologies and standards for what should be in law enforcement and firearms training. So if you're not following, yes, Mike said it, make sure you follow him. I'll give him a plug all day long. Do not think that my arguing with Mike about this subject means that I don't take him fucking seriously at all. I take him more seriously than 99% of the people out there. Mike, there you go.
Hey, what's going on?
I'm just plugging you.
Oh, I appreciate that. It's all good. I'm humble about it.
Guys, this is Mike Brown, for those who don't know. Law enforcement professional, adjunct college professor, firearms expert, experts. I mean, there is not one person in the world that I would ever send somebody I cared about for training outside of Mike. So if you're in the Chicago area and you're trying to get your CCW and you're not going to Mike Brown, you're the fucking moron. Simple as that.
Thanks. The only thing that I was...
Where are we misaligning?
Well, here's what I was saying. Now, in terms of the beginning of the stop, I will agree with you that there are officers who do exacerbate or make worsened situations that could bring rise to a person under the influence of narcotics. It can accelerate them. Okay, so I'm not going to debate you on that one because I agree with you on that one. But when I'm looking at it from the perspective of them getting him in the handcuffs and how hard they had to get him in the handcuffs and then tasing him and, you know, doing the drive stun and stuff like that as a taser instructor, I can tell you there have been times where, you know, as a taser end user and instructor, there's been times where the taser has not worked. There's been times where the taser...
Taser has a high faulty level of failure.
That's correct. That's correct. You know, and them trying to get him in the car, they actually did get him in the back of the car.
And out the other side.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know why they opened the door to pull him through because he's a big man, and he kicked through the door to go out to the other side.
Sure. And when you have that, you know, then they got him out on the ground, and then Derek Chauvin got him down in that position. I don't have a problem with him getting him in that position. I have a problem with the minute you saw that the fight appeared to be over, where he wasn't as ambulatory as a normal person would have been, you should have gotten off of him. That's the only part where I disagree with how long he stayed on him. But I think we're giving police training and maybe not you, because I understand you are critical of that as well. Police training is just litigation mitigation. It's just enough for the departments to be able to say, we showed you something. I just went to the Force Science Institute and got certified as a Force Science analyst. And Dr. Nowinski even agrees, the executive director, he even agrees that the police training is not enough. And given that, and I'll land with this, given that the police training is not enough, what we would like for it to be and what it was on that day and time with those officers who, let's talk facts, maybe not the best of physical shape. You know, they don't know the martial arts that you do have. They don't have the discipline to stay in shape. You know, I just recently lost it. I'm a little fatty fat, you know, and so let's talk facts. Those things, and you've heard me say this before, the lack of being in the proper physical fitness and being able to have the patience to be able to deal with a person or assess certain options when you are out of shape, that accelerates you to the sympathetic nervous system dump, where all you're thinking about is automaticity and you're thinking about the worst possible situations that can happen. And then you take things to the extreme instead of pulling it back and allowing things to actually take hold. Prime example, Chicago, Jason Van Dyke. Need we say more? All the rest of these cops are walking behind Laquan McDonald. They did not make a decision to deploy a taser at the point in time. They only had a taser card. Everybody wasn't issued tasers. And then Jason Van Dyke decides to go in front. His partner cuts off the pathway of Laquan. Laquan is turning the other way, and then all of a sudden he shoots them, making a situation something that was not. You know, and police training is filled with that. But, you know, if they actually raise the standards of police training, they would have to raise the standards of who they hire. And the best and the brightest are not always going to join to be the police. So
the underlying problem, how long is that going to be the excuse? How long are we going to say training is so substandard? Mm-hmm. This would have been my 23rd year going into it. And I've heard that argument since day one. Yeah. Going to the academy, what do they tell us? They said, well, you know, the training you're going to get here is pretty much basic. Doesn't matter if it's firearms training or anything else, you're going to be counted on doing it for your own. Mm-hmm. It's nearly a quarter of a century later that nothing has changed. Yeah. So my problem is we do have substandard police officers out there based on the salary. I make no qualms about it. I'm not a fan of CPD. Mm-hmm. They hire some of the shittiest fucking people out there to do a job that is underpaid. It's under-supported, and they're overabused. And 100% what you said, and it's going through my mind. How many times when I got older on scene when I went hands on and I was out of shape because I didn't have to run anymore, didn't have to do this anymore. Thank God I was trained, because the fatter I got, I'm out of breath cardiovascular wise. So maybe instead of spending an extra 3 to 5 seconds trying to torque up an arm bar to get somebody in cuffs, I'm now going to back off and go to my pistol because I'm about to pass out and lose the fight. So that's my fault. My biggest problem with Derek Chauvin is, from what I saw, the fight was off. The public is all around with all their phones filming everybody. And here you had him, like he was on the trophy of a fucking kill in the plains of Africa, posing for a picture for 9 fucking minutes. In my opinion, that is police torture. And that is, I'm the fucking police. I could do whatever I want. That is my sole argument. And everything else outside of it, no. He didn't kill him. No, it wasn't on his neck. I saw positions of it. It was where the trap is. That's nerve, if anything. So it's a pain compliance. No, I have no problem with anything else. I can't do anything about the dialogue. We know there's shitty cops out there. Get the fuck out of the car instead of saying, "Hey, how are you? Can you step out and talk to me for a second?" We understand that, but with that, in this whole last riot era of what we've had, from all the way to the Mike Brown to fucking Eric Garner to everybody else, you're gonna parade around in the middle of the day on the street corner with a man that is known, and you're punishing him. That is my only problem with the incident.
And I can see that argument, and I oftentimes get into heated discussions in certain cases with police officers who don't understand that it's said in the Black community that a person became a police officer because they were bullied. While that's not the case for all police officers, that is in fact the case for some. Because it just makes sense that if you were bullied as a child, when you would need help, you would call the police. So why not become the thing you would call as a security mechanism, where you have that in your mind, instead of this being, I am Mike and this is the job I do, I am this job. And that's a psychological position that some people take. So when you hear some people say, F the police, or I'll do this, I'll do that, instead of separating themselves psychologically from, okay, you have a problem with that because of this, that doesn't mean I am that. Then they'll sit there and say, oh, you said F1, you F us all. And then that could attribute to that mindset as well. So it's a big psychological Maslowian, it's an issue for sure. So I can see your point.
I'm glad I'm not doing it anymore. I'm glad you're not doing it anymore. You'd be targeted like crazy. Fucking, you're far too educated to fucking be doing the job right now, and that says some shitty stuff. But yes, I also am glad you wanted to come on, because I didn't want people to think I was disagreeing with your position, but it doesn't mean I don't value it. That you're one of the few people I actually listen to in this profession.
Yeah, and that's why I just said, when it came down to you saying, once the cuffs are on, the fight is off. Man, let me tell you, remember.
There was a caveat to that. I had stated, yeah, they could kick, they could spit, they could bite. We have the chair. You have somebody who put in a chair with their head restrained, arm restrained, because they're still combatives on their cuffs. Yeah. From what I saw, reviewing that body camera footage, I do not agree with the extended period of time. Yeah. And my analogy is, you can use OC in cuffs, but you can't empty your spray. You cannot empty the. We had a guy fired when I was in 2002. Guy was behind the door at the jail, and we didn't have the bar doors; it's the whole sliding doors. And the little crack underneath. The guy was mouthing off, being combative, hitting his head against the bar. What did shithead do? He took his pepper spray, blasted it under the door, and left. And command staff said he didn't render aid.
Right. You
just let him fucking choke in there. So we have some stupid police out there that make mistakes, and which kills me why the public just arbitrarily backs the blue when it comes time to this. The biggest problem I have with this too is 90% of the people who are siding with Chauvin are doing so because they can't stand George Floyd's character. He was a fentanyl drug addict. He held a pregnant woman by gunpoint. He passed a fake $20 bill. I don't know how people can't understand this. He still is afforded constitutional rights and protection and service by the fucking police, no matter how bad you think that is. and they're all basing their support on Chauvin for fuck George Floyd. I have a problem with that. I just can't get behind that.
And I will say, not only just that, but the riots that happened in the wake that affected a great percentage of our community. Like, I just did not understand that. Like, why are you tearing shit up here? You shouldn't do it at all, period. But why here? Why here? You know, his past has nothing to do with him being killed unlawfully.
I saw that too. We covered the whole thing. Go back and watch this from the beginning when I posted.
Yeah.
We covered that. He wasn't killed by Chauvin.
Yeah.
All right, I appreciate that. Hey, plug everything. What are you doing? What are you working on? Do you ever offer online training at all or anything?
Online personal training, yeah, but you can't offer too much online training because by statute they're eliminating a percentage of that because of COVID. So, you know, I'm just doing Illinois concealed carry, Maryland concealed carry, stuff like that, and just unarmed and armed security, just for those who want to get certified as an unarmed and armed security officer. And I'm getting tired now. I'm getting tired
because your classes are always full. So everybody can follow and support you, and get your books, your children's books too.
Yeah. You can go to MikeBrownsBooks.com. You'll find my children's books there. My YouTube page, Instructor Mike. Variety of social media, TikTok, Instructor Mike, stuff like that.
Good. I'm going to take a few more of these guys on here, but I'm glad you jumped on first because I wanted to get that on there, so I appreciate that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, sir.
I'm trying to connect some of you other guys. Let's see. Guys, I don't know how much time I have left us. Hey, what's going on? How are you?
Hey, Dom, how you doing, sir?
What do you got?
Hey, I just tapped in. I actually saw Mike. Mike and I have had quite a few discussions on things with law and stuff. He is actually a brilliant person that I've been collaborating with.
He's like a fucking Rain Man savant, how intelligent he is.
Yeah, we actually, the first discussion we had, we kind of bumped heads because he thought I was one of those 100%, you know, back the blue and all that. And then he realized, oh no, this guy actually calls out bad policing. I work with an organization called Breaking Barriers United.
Okay.
And Ryan Tillman, I'm retired Riverside PD, so we're in California.
Okay.
And my buddy Ryan Tillman, he's former Chino PD. And when Mike Brown happened, he came up with an organization where we're trying to build bridges between the law enforcement and the community. We actually do scenarios where we post things, use of force, stuff like that, where we put civilians in the roles of police officers so they can just kind of see how fast things happen. And then also for me, you know, I'm a former defensive tactics instructor on my department. In December, we're actually going to put on a seminar out here training cops, because one thing's for sure, brother, we need it. You know, my background, you know, I got to go ahead, brother.
Can you talk about a problem really quickly? I don't know if you experienced this. Has it been your experience that when you personally go to train police officers, it was this way for the length of time I did it? I experienced, and if I'm wrong, I hope I'm wrong, I experienced that cops don't go to class to learn, especially defensive tactics. They go to class to show you what they know.
Boom. And we are the most, I always say, the two most sensitive entities is men. I'm former military, so Marines and cops. It is what it is. Shout out to Mike, he's still here. Marines and cops. And you know why? Because we are always training, Dom, that we are the tip of the spear, right? We're the badass. So when we come into these training environments, I don't want to come to you in a position of inferiority. I'm always thinking I can win. And when you get in there with people, those of us who train all the time, it's extremely humbling in defensive tactics, because as a cop, you get your ass handed to you. And so, Dom, if I know I come to you and you humble me, I don't want to train. I want to show you this little BS stuff like you and Mike were talking about. That shit in the academy does not work. So we do, and I know I put in California, you know, I know it's super liberal and stuff out here, but our training requirements are the highest probably in the nation. Our post requirements are how often we have to have mandated training, our CIT, et cetera. Sometimes we do CIT twice a year, where we're finding out there are organizations out there in departments that may not even train once a year. We shoot every month, those type of things. And one of the things I brought up, Dom, when I interviewed for DTAC, I said, it's weird that we shoot every single month, but we put hands on people every single day. You know where I'm going? And we don't train for that. I said, so you were mentioning like when you're out of shape, etc. What's the first thing we do? We go right to our firearm because we can go, oh my gosh, Dom, I was in fear for my safety and all that because my ass is out of shape and I can't fight, so I shot the guy. Instead of training for each scenario, you have to train.
That's why I'm gonna make a very unpopular statement. I go back and forth all the time. When I was in the 90s and I wanted to be a police officer, I couldn't. I wasn't old enough, first of all. But yes, I was. Yeah. No, I turned 20 in. I'm trying to turn 20. Shit, 2000. Anyways, no, 25 in 2000. Anyways, they had a height requirement. It was 5'8" in Illinois. I was only 5'7". Then they dropped the height requirement. I go back and forth all the time about women being cops because there's a lot of great women out there, but not for nothing. It's going to be the lowest percentage in the world about any of them, to about 2 of them who could take me into custody on their own without escalating that use of force. So I'm starting to, like, every now and then I go, yeah, women should be cops. No, they shouldn't. Yeah, they should. No, they should. So I go back and forth with all the physicality aspect on it as well, too. We've made law enforcement far too criminal friendly, and that's a big problem.
So I agree with you. I believe there are roles. So I'm probably with the tip of my head, I'm probably 5'8". So, but I mean, I work out and I train, like I said, all the time. I'm constantly training because we have to make up for a lack of our size, and size matters. And I'm going to disagree with you. I think if you go ape shit, a woman is going to probably going to have to exercise deadly force to take you into custody.
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
By themselves. 2 women cannot take it. We used to teach women defensive tactics, and one of the first questions we used to say is, which one of you can take me into custody? And they'd all have this look on their face like, and it's like, boom, if that's your mindset, you should be like, absolutely, I could take you into custody. Their mindset first is, no, I can't. They've lost. They've lost, and they will escalate to firearms or a baton to the head or something else. 100%. It's just like when Mike came on, it falls back on training. But the question is, how much longer are we going to use that excuse? How much longer are you going to have a 21-year-old kid who came out of the academy in today's society, a 21-year-old kid who has no association of what life is like, working on your streets, pulls over your brother, your mother, this and that, and then escalates use of force because they're scared, because they're fucking scared.
Yes, I mean, civilians are tired of hearing it. And trust me, I go around and I get it a lot, man. I go and they go, at the barbershop I go to, I've been going to since 2004. They know me as Said the Cop, even if I'm retired. They go, we don't give a damn. You're still always Said the Cop. And, you know, you're sitting there, Dom, and there's always someone, hey, I got a cop question to ask you. And, you know, it turns into these scenarios, use of force. And I always tell people, don't compare different uses of force because it's just like mathematics, right? You change X and Y. When you change variables, the outcomes are always going to be different. But they look at, well, Michael Brown happened there. This happened in Florida, but the results are, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I said, don't factor any of that in. We have to look at these individual officers. And 99% of the times, it's always our training. I always say we get in over our heads, Dom, because we're overconfident, undertrained, or we don't make the decisions. FBI did studies many years ago, and you probably know about this, where people actually assaulted us. They either took our lives, jumped on us, and a lot of times, what did they say? The cop dicked around and he didn't make a decision. And I always tell people, be deliberate in what you're going to do. You know, we always hear the ass, you know, tell, make, right?
Ask, tell, make. How often do you hear cop ask, sir, put your hands behind your back, sir, but 20 times.
Yeah.
Why did you not go and tackle him? Because you asked him a million times. Or cops will be backing up with their pistol drawn. Stop or I'll shoot you. Stop what?
And you have to go to, like, out here in California, we are not obligated to, if I stop you, Dom, I don't have to tell you why I stopped you right away.
Right.
But as I understand, you're a damn grown-up. And it can help diffuse the situation where I say, hey, sir, the reason why I stopped you is, you know, you did a California roll. You didn't come to a complete stop. Not this, hey, I need license, registration, and insurance. So now we get into this dick measuring contest where you're like, no, tell me why. And then I say, you know what, screw it. I close the ticket book or whatever, and now I'm trying to pull you out of the car, and a use of force occurs.
In my opinion, that's what I saw from start to finish in the body camera footage when it came to George Floyd. It wasn't, hey, George, yeah, the clerk in there just said you passed a fake $20 bill. What the hell happened with that? You talk to me. Instead of doing that, the cop shows right up, and he's got his pistol at the window. Put your fucking hands on the wheel. It's like, wow, that whole thing could have, and whatever, Floyd still could have done what he did, but you would have taken the onus off of the police on it.
Yeah.
This the timer's running out. Plug everything you're doing. Is there a website people can support you at or anything else?
Well, you can follow, like I said, I'm with Breaking Barriers United. If you follow my guy, Ryan Tillman, there are several videos of me and stuff on there with the training program. You can also follow him on YouTube. Breaking Barriers United. We have a series called Switched, and that's where we switch roles with the law enforcement and civilians and put civilians in roles of police officers, so you guys can see how quick things happen regardless if you're trained or not, that it's always action versus reaction.
Can you send me some stuff that I can promote for you too, please?
Sure.
I would appreciate that. Thank you much. Guys, I hope you enjoy this discussion. The timer on this is going. Again, this is my opinion. We got two other police officers on here who are professionals who voiced in theirs. Yeah, it's just, it's a frustrating topic. Hope this made sense. Hope you guys got value out of this, and share this, and see you guys in the next conversation. I appreciate you joining in today.
Thanks, Dom. Thanks for having me up, brother. Take care.